the first issue, all of them prioritize at least two things which could be seen as their consensus and then common interest. One, security and peace in Afghanistan, and two, human rights, women's rights, and inclusivity in Afghanistan.
Mr. Minister, it's a real pleasure to have an opportunity to discuss a little bit about your experience and compare that with my experience. We are both coming from the countries which were at the headlines of the international, news, and this is not always good. So my first question is, in a short, what would you say, what is the lesson learned in Afghanistan, which is significant for the rest of the world?
Well, thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's both an honor and pleasure to talk to you, and especially about subjects that are so important for our countries. Politically, the most significant lesson learned is that unity of national actors is definitely an insurance policy for success. Disunity is definitely a recipe for failure. But unity has a cost, obviously, so unity cannot be just achieved by nice words, or you cannot bribe your way through unity. Unity will have to be reached with real compromises, finding solutions to the common problems, and create stakes for everybody. Our biggest failure in Afghanistan was that we could not produce that unity. So that's number one. Number two is, again, international community working with a country to produce a better life, better situation for their own people can be helpful, but only when national actors are united and effective. Over-reliance on outsiders is again a recipe for disaster.
Similar experience with us, with Bosnia, because after the war the local players were united that it's time to build a peace, and that was first precondition. In our case, second was that the solution was somewhere there in between, so that there is no real winner, real loser. Everybody was enough happy and unhappy. And the third, which is also, I believe, applicable to the Afghanistan, is unity of international community. International community has to be united and not to have favorite sides inside the country. If they are divided, there is no way to have unity within the country.
You're absolutely right. Their consensus is a prerequisite for strengthening national consensus. And specifically, which may be a subset of issues, one another experience is that you have to live with your neighbors and you have to find a way to live with them. Our experience is that a bad neighbor can make you fail on any front. But obviously, we perhaps did not put enough energy and resources to make sure that the neighbor feels comfortable with us, rather than trying to see their interest in our failure. They should be a stakeholder in our success. Those are the points that you will have to seriously tackle if you are to actually rebuild a nation that has been affected by such a long conflict.
My next question is, how do you see the role of the international community with the current government?
My impression at the moment is mixed. There are issues that they are dealing with effectively and correctly, but there are issues that they are totally wrong about. The first issue, all of them prioritize at least two things which could be seen as their consensus and common interest. One, security and peace in Afghanistan, and two, human rights, women's rights, and inclusivity in Afghanistan. We are glad to see that there is unity, consensus among them, prioritizing these two key principles. That is fine, but the way they are going about it is not so fine, because they also need unity and consensus and unity of action in terms of achieving those two principles. They must take a multilateral approach to it rather than bilateral. But when they take bilateral approach, they indicate to you that they are after their own interest, and then that undermines their multilateral, their collective ability to have an impact on the situation. So one of the things I have been saying to my friends and colleagues, the people that I know and who want to listen, is that you have achieved a good consensus on what you want. You need to reflect the same level of consensus in how to achieve that.
And last question, maybe the most difficult. How do you see the future of Afghanistan?
We have to remain optimistic. We have to have a vision for the success of our people. We know, and I'm a strong believer in the fact that no authoritarian government or no ill-wishing country can defeat a nation that is unified to determine its own future. I strongly believe in that, and it's not a naive political conviction. It is coming from deep experience and in my heart. However, in the short term, that is going to be affected by the two factors: disunity among Afghan leaders and political actors, as well as civil society actors, and disunity within the international and regional community. So we are hoping that we will be able to achieve a level of unity which will allow Afghanistan to build on these two key principles.
That means that if Russia, for instance, China and US and EU could have the same approach, it will guarantee some sort of the improvement of the situation.
Definitely. I will add 2 points to that. I will add to these 4 countries like Pakistan, Iran specifically, as well as our other key stakeholders such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, India and Turkey, and then our northern neighbors, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, the Central Asian countries. So they all have serious impact on the situation. Of course, the degree differs. So these 4 need to maintain consensus from all of them. So that's number 1. Number 2 is obviously for them that they have already achieved consensus on what they want. Basically, as I said, security, counterterrorism, human rights and inclusivity. These are common issues that they have achieved. Now these big players, next step, next challenge to achieve is commonality in their approach. And that needs to happen through the Doha political process based on the UN Security Council's resolution. If they follow that, they have a better chance to not only help Afghanistan, but help themselves. Because success in Afghanistan is in their best interest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. As always, this was the highest level of honor in any interview I've had.
Thank you.